Hello, and welcome to the Underhive.
Thank you for rejoining me here for some more Total War Warhammer 2 battle replays from the multiplayer community. So today's replay was provided by Adam Schadow, so thank you very much for that. Let's get into it and check out the armies. So let's slow these armies down a moment. So we've got the Vampire Counts led by Adam Schadow with a Strigoi Vampire Lord. They've got a bit of a vanguard going over here with the Dire Pack as well as two sets of Direwolves, so hoping to make use of the anti-large there on the Dire Pack. We've got 5 sets of zombies, just chaffing it up on the front, as well as 4 sets of standard Graveguard, and 2 Corpse Carts, as well as 4 sets of Crypt Horrors, bringing the mass. A vanguard for the forces of the Norskins as well, led by V. So Wulfric the Wanderer on horse, got Horse Wulfric, as well as a Shaman Sorcerer of Fire, also on horse. We've got a Manticore up in the air contesting the Air Force of the Strigoi Vampire Lord. And then for the Vanguard, I'm guessing, yeah, Horse Masters, 3 sets. Good ranged option there for Norska. And then for the infantry here, we've got 4 sets of Berserkers, as well as 5 sets of just standard, 4 sets of Marauders, as well as the Regiment of Renown Icehorn Marauders. And then the Femir Great Weapons, so ability to do some big damage with those Femir Great Weapons, anti-large, as well as armor sundering. Now, the Crypt Ghouls, the obvious choice there, in terms of the large opponent, don't have much armor, and neither really does the Corpse Cart, but they could certainly bang on that Corpse Cart and take that down pretty quickly. So we've seen a spell go off pretty soon. Yeah, the Spirit Leech there, presumably from the Vampire Lord, but the Hunter of Champions has also been popped, slowing and reducing armor and melee defense, but not really in too much threat if they can get away from the Feral Manticore. But of course, the speed is going to hinder that. Let's go back to full speed. So the Horsemaster's getting in there on the Vampire Lord straight away, taking some hits there. That may have been caused by the Vampire Lord. There's also the Flaming Sword of Rune going off from the Flame Caster. That Manticore is really beating on the Strigoi Vampire Lord to begin with the support here of the Marauder Horsemasters. The fire damage is also going to be making a big difference. Doesn't seem like the Manticore has benefited from that. The Direwolves deciding to pull away from the front lines and chase off these Horsemasters. I think that's a good call, leaving the Strigoi Vampire Lord to have a go at the Manticore himself. Does have poison attack, so it is going to be reducing the effectiveness of that Manticore. The slow nature of this army here, really being led up by the zombies, is going to mean there's going to be some significant period of time while this Lord is on his own. The fireball there landing true straight on the Vampire Lord, and the Manticore now rampaging. But he's on the target he wants to be on. There's nothing else he can be pulled onto accidentally, so that's looking good. Dire Pack, of course, would really love to feast on these Horsemasters. That is their preferred prey, but these other ones here, not going to be quick enough. They are at, 40 odd speed, is it? No, 95 speed, sorry, I don't know where I got 40 odd from. Versus the 90, so they would have caught up eventually. The Dire Pack definitely have also at 95 speed versus the 90. So they are now chomping on the hind legs. But the Strigoi Vampire Lord doesn't seem to have lost any further HP. Does appear to have some healing spells himself. Could be wrong with that, because he's obviously got the Spirit Leech. Can't get that to stay on. It appears, in fact, that the vampires are not actually moving this army up. You know with Norska they're going to have to charge you, but you don't want to lose your lord in that trade. Wulfric, of course, here still at full health. Hunter of Champions already used. We're not going to see that again for a little bit. These Horsemasters are in a predicament here, because if they break, they're going to rout straight off here, potentially. They may come to another side, but they're pretty close. The other set of wolves appear to have been dealt with, in fact both sets, so only the Dire Pack left in terms of real mobility for the Vampire Counts, and of course the Strigoi Lord himself. The Manticore's still going. Looks like we're seeing a breath attack absolutely nuking the Shaman Sorcerer. Probably not going to be seeing an awful lot more fire spell. The Horseman did break as well by the look, so the Dire Pack are there now on their own. They can get themselves back into the fight. But the Shaman, although broken, still capable of coming back here. The Manticore does appear to be losing the trade now. The poison is probably adding up. It's very tired, whereas the Vampire Lord is just diminished. If you can keep clear of these horsemen, and that would be a big deal. The Shaman has now come back and is now using the Flaming Sword of Ruin again. They're going to be dealing real good damage. The Strigoi Vampire Lord taking the additional, given that he has a regenerative ability. So we're now seeing the lines meet. The front line of the Marauders here is looking pretty tasty up against this just front line of the zombies. They will chew through them fairly quickly, but once the Graveguard and the Crypt Horrors get in there with the ability of the Corpse Cart backing them up, that may well... Oh, we've got a Sea Fang going down the line here. That is chewing through some Death Guard. Some good HP damage. There's no models killed there yet. Still at 90, but that is some good HP damage. Wulfric charging straight in for the Corpse Cart. He's got a big hit on the Corpse Cart to begin with. Doing some significant damage. Has not popped any sort of ability there that I can see. The Manticore still wanting to get involved, but the Strigoi Vampire Lord has healed up. A breath attack appeared to be directly on the Manticore, seemed to clip these horsemen as well, horse masters rather. The Shaman has now bottled it and ran to the other side of the map. The Manticore is now shattered, so the Air Force is a very much all to play for the Vampire Counts. One Corpse Cart going down, but I suppose that's the benefit of bringing two. You've still got the second one to play with there. Yeah, Fight or Die does not appear to be popped as yet. He is looking winded, though. Now, of course, the Berserkers all still quite healthy. These Marauders are now going to be able to move in, but I think maybe the Dire Pack is poised to get on them in the rear when they do. The left flank for the Vampires has now been absolutely lawn-mowed by the Marauders and the Berserkers backing them up. The nice arc of fire on the Huntsman, getting in over the top on what appears to be the Graveguard, I think. The Femir now moving through. There doesn't appear to be an awful lot of large over here. The Crypt Ghouls are further towards the centre and the left flank by the looks. So if they can get their attacks going into the... Well, then again, they're not anti-large, but it would make sense to me if they were. They're throwing quite large javelins, but that's fair enough. Oh, and Wulfric the Wanderer has been absolutely banged on. He's been shattered. I did see that there was a fight in the centre here, so I think the Strigoi Vampire Lord has absolutely battered him. Now, they are chasing off. Now, they've pulled away. Now, they've seen that it's a shatter. They know he's not coming back. So the Strigoi Vampire Lord reorienting to get onto this left flank where they lost the zombies quite early. The right flank is surrendered to the Norskins here, but the Dire Pack are getting up and around, hopefully looking to collapse on the Huntsman, I imagine, make use of the anti-large bonus. It's a great breath attack there, dissolving a good amount of the Marauders in the middle there. This could still go either way. Balance of power, 7 minutes in, and it's only slightly in the favour of the Vampire Counts, and that will be because of the loss of Wulfric. But if we can find those, those Femir, if they can bang on this Vampire Lord, I mean, he's only got 50 armor to begin with. So you know, if they can sunder that down. It's got the Opal Amulet propped though, so it's taking a 22% damage resistance. So that's going to keep him topped off nicely, but he is at his healing cap. So I'm not sure there's too much to hope for, but it's back up in the air. It's not going to be worrying about any damage just now. The Horsemasters are not really targeting the Lord at all there. They would have to swoop around if they're going to. Looks like the Femir are broken, and the Strigoi Lord is taking full advantage of that, trying to make sure they do not return. A lot of the Marauders are breaking, but should come back here, and it has devolved into the pit fight, but there is still a Corpse Cart. still doing its work. Of course, not as big a deal as the Mortis engine, but it's going to add up. It's going to add up, and potentially as well the terror-causing units or fear-causing units could cause some routing here. It looks like we might be getting a fear route on those. They're sort of umming and ahhing whether they're scared. Yeah, no, they have bottled it, and they've shattered. And of course, the fact that the Famir were never coming back at that point, or they were unlikely to come back, really sealed the deal there. Let's take a look at the values. So the Strigoi Vampire Lord here, dealing 3,740 worth of damage. So taking out the majority of the Manticore, because the Manticore really did pay for itself, but it did all its damage against the Strigoi Vampire Lord, who then did heal. But that's a good use of a Manticore there. I think that was really, really good play, capitalizing. I do think it was very good play from the Shaman as well. The value shown there probably isn't as accurate as it could have been, because the Horsemasters got some extra value out of that. They're definitely all paying for themselves if you add them all up. This one not as much, but you know, if you average that out, they've definitely paid for themselves there. The Graveguard across the board doing what they needed to. The army was, I don't think, centered around the Graveguard getting all the value, so they've kind of done all right. And then the zombies, they've done okay. They're not expensive. One of them they're paying for themselves, two of them in fact. So again, across the board, the zombies have covered that. In terms of the Crypt Ghouls, not really paying for themselves there. Now, of course, the Vampire Counts won that fight. Across the army, they did what they needed to do. The Dire Pack did get some good value there. The other Dire Wolves, they were chasing after a relatively fast cavalry unit with skirmishing capabilities. It's going to happen. I don't think it's a terrible trade to lose those in exchange for keeping the Strigoi Vampire Lord alive. I do think chasing them off was a good play because at the time they were buffed with the Flaming Sword, so they probably died quicker in trying to save their Lord there. But let's take a look here. So loads of kills, but these were presumably zombie kills, so they didn't really pay for themselves there, the Marauders. None of them did for the front line, really, unfortunately, there for Norska. The Berserkers getting decent value there, and the Horsemasters really getting the majority of the value. So the big losses there were Wulfric extending into the Corpse Cart. Definitely got rid of one, but then the Strigoi Vampire Lord swooped down and made the punishment for that. The Femir Warriors didn't get onto the juicy targets by the looks of things, because they got a decent number of kills, so it was a relatively low number of kills rather, but so they probably were killing Graveguard, which is not a bad trade. The Graveguard do have the armor to make use of that sundering, so it's not a bad idea to have them on there, but of course they're not getting their anti-large additional buffs for that. Overall, I do think there were some great plays from both players here, particularly trying to snipe that Lord out. If that had happened, I think the game could have been very different. It's just unfortunate for V that Adam Schadow saw that happening, made the appropriate readjustments. So again, thank you very much to Adam Schadow for providing the replay. Thank you to both players for having played the match, and well played, and good game to both players. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time in the Underhive.